This is Greg Kelly. Donate now to Toys for Tots, which works year-round. Go to toysfortots.org. Toys for Tots supports children in need throughout the year with programs like the Toys for Tots Literacy Program. Established in 2008, it has provided over 63 million books to disadvantaged children. The Toys for Tots Literacy Program is committed to providing disadvantaged children with direct access to books and educational resources that enhance their ability to read and communicate effectively. Go to toysfortots.org.
Listen, all you New Yorkers. Taxi.
Okay, man, we're looking around.
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
All righty, Lionel with you. This is The Other Side of Midnight. This is the fourth final hour, and I normally find that a particular subject kind of wears thin, but I cannot tell you enough how I am so impressed and so fascinated by your take on this subject. I mean that. And the reason why it is simple. I love certain things to look at it from almost an anthropological point of view. And I find your take the most interesting, the most fascinating. Because we talk about this all the time. And also, there's nothing better. And let me rephrase this. I love when somebody tells me the way a war, the way a military action is effectuated. And when you say this, we have a lot of people, as you know, who are, well, how do I say this? Some people are a little bit, they're not the deepest of thinkers. I'm sorry, I don't know how to say this. And they interpret any type of criticism as to the strategy, as to the means by which war is enacted. They look at it as though somehow you're being, well, as though you're being negative or you're being un-American or somehow whatever. You know what I'm talking about. You've seen these folks before. It's kind of how they are. And I'm sorry, I don't like war. I don't want anything about war. I don't think it's good. I think it's bad. What was it? War is something that's, what was the expression from the 60s? War is negative or disadvantageous to small animals or whatever. But I like when somebody comes along and he says, I'm going to do something a little bit different. And in the world of warfare, there were folks who came along and they had some different takes on it. And one of them was the idea of General Patton. And Patton was the one who took the idea of armor service. And this was something that was kind of brand new. And he made it his own. He made it his own. He was something else. And despite what you think about Patton in terms of George C. Scott, the individual himself showed a prowess that was the most fascinating. This was the guy who was a genius. And he was so good. And for all practical purposes, a waste of flesh in real life. He married very exceedingly rich people, women. He had lived in the incredible wealth, polo and horses, and he was just incredible. But what he did was he thought to himself, you know what I'm going to do here? I don't understand why I should just sit around and wait. Kind of just wait as this tank. I'm going to go after people. And he started to move and he chased people and he completely redefined, reinvented this notion of warfare. And you look at it now and you think, well, that kind of makes sense to me. But at the time, it was considered genius. Curtis LeMay, who came up with this, I'm going to bomb you into the Stone Age. Remember that Curtis LeMay, who the Strategic Air Command and all types of things. Yeah, remember he had Bell's palsy and he always had a cigar in his mouth. He later ran for president along with George Wallace in the Green Party. Curtis LeMay. And he said, why do we fly these wonderful bombers? Like, let's turn them into like dive bombers. I don't know if it was the B-19, the B, whatever. I don't want to mistake it. But the point is, he revamped the way they delivered this. General Sherman. Oh, my God. Civil War, he said, if I make war as horrible as possible, it will not be something people would ever want to do again. And then came the other subsidiary theories, such like a mutual assured destruction and MAD. And then there were others as well. George Catlin Marshall, probably one of the greatest military minds in Americans, Nobel Prize, Secretary of State, the Marshall Plan. He's probably my hero, my absolute hero. Had a countenance about him and a respect people had for him. When he was originally starting as a young officer, he was in General Pershing's outfit or whatever it was, or not outfit. And Pershing, Blackjack Pershing, by the way, one of two 6-star generals. General of the Armies. General of the Army is 5-star. General of the Armies is 6. The other one was posthumously George Washington in 1976, I should say. Anyway, what he did was, when he was a young officer, here was Pershing. And he went and he said, I want to ask you a question. Sir, you're not answering my question. And Pershing said, that is all. And he walks out and Marshall grabbed him. That's like grabbing a made man or a boss of the mob. It's like, you're dead. You're finished. You're through. They said, you're done. They looked at me and said, that's it. You're finished. Not only did Pershing respect him, but Marshall was the best man in his wedding or something. They were the closest. Anyway, those people were geniuses. And by the way, they're not doing push-ups and pull-ups. They were so badass. There is a picture of these generals sitting around. I wish I could. It's just, oh my God. I think it's Hap Arnold, it's Doolittle, it's everybody. I think all the 5 stars. But Omar Bradley, Patton, Ike, incredible. Just incredible. And World War II brought them out, and there was just such respect for them. And then we have General Zhukov, the Russian. Genius. Brutal. You do not want to go up against him. He is just one of the greatest generals ever. His idea was, I'll get the job done. This showed a tenacity. There is an elegance and there is a beauty in war which sounds oxymoronic. It sounds contrary. It's a genius. And the one that I think of them all, that I think is so interesting, is General Giap. I'm pronouncing it perhaps incorrectly, but this is the Vietnamese. He lived to be 102 or 3. Little guy. Badass like you cannot believe. And he, along with Ho Chi Minh, said, we're going to show you guerrilla warfare. And they laughed at him and said, you don't understand who we are. And his famous line, he says, grab your enemy by the belt. Pull him in hard. So they can't shoot themselves. They can't call artillery in. Move in and then take off. Some people in Vietnam said they never saw the enemy. Never. They might have seen a booby trap or they might have seen some remnant. It was a war nobody had ever seen. They used conventional war. And it is just, so there is something about the beauty. I'm sorry to say this about something which is so terrible. Not to mention the naval, Halsey and Nimitz, and oh my God, they're geniuses. And how they fought. And remember one thing which is important. And if there's one thing that history taught us, if you push somebody far enough, no matter who they are, they will throw caution to the wind. Japanese knew they're not going to beat the United States. They knew this, but they had to. So what happens is you take politics, you take history, and you take strategy. You take the best minds there are, and you ask yourself before you engage in anything, I don't want to involve myself in any kind of military action just for political reasons. I don't want to play soldier. I want to listen to the people who say, where are we going? Where is this place? What is the terrain? What's the weather? What's the equipment? What are the logistics? How many do we need? All this. There are people who are just, that's all they do is they think about this. And it's unfortunate. It's terrible. I think in the long run we'll find out it's humanistic. It's unnecessary, but it's beautiful. There's a genius to it. It's orchestrated. It's balletic. It's the way people... Remember the old... Who was it? Sherman. Oh, not Sherman. U.S. Grant. Actually born Hiram, but Ulysses S. Grant. Drunk like you can't believe. Raging alcoholic. Roaring alcoholic. And you know the old line, they went to Lincoln, they said, he's an alcoholic. He said, well, find out what he drinks and send the case of it to all my generals. He showed an ability. He showed an ability nobody's ever seen before. And this was, and I'll never forget, somebody said one time, if there could have been one device, one instrument in the Civil War that would have changed everything, what would it be? What? Artillery, aircraft? He goes, no, walkie-talkie. Just to be able to talk to people and to walk how that war was. The bullets, the rounds. Remember when they would, I think it was Shelby Foote, they said that when they would go to the various battlegrounds. I remember Matthew Brady here in New York. He would go there, and in order to raise money for the effort, people could go and watch the war. They would show up, like a parade ground, and they would commence the war. Antietam is still the bloodiest thing anybody's ever seen. But anyway, but Shelby Foote said that when they would go, they did battlefield amputations, and oh my God. But when they found these corpses, the bodies, their shirts were ripped open, and they said they didn't know why. Why were their shirts, their blouses, as they call them, ripped? It turns out that the wounds were so horrific because they were not even sometimes rifled, these basically musket, these balls. That it was so horrible that they would lose an arm or a leg and they would rip their shirt up to see where they were hit, how bad they were. They think maybe the final number might have been 600,000 more. It's just beyond horrible. Wave after wave after wave. That's it. That's the way it was done. And if you talk to any of those people, why are you doing this? Would they have said slavery? No. Would they have said Lincoln? No. It's because my brother's here, my father's here, my family's here. Was it romantic? I don't know if it was romantic. But it was a different. And how about, oh my God, Appomattox? The whole notion of the gentleman. Remember Lee and I think both were at West Point. Lee was the first in his class. And when he showed up, he got there early at the home of this, whatever, Braddock, whatever his name was. Anyway, Appomattox. And he was in his best uniform, crisp, waiting. He had his horse, Traveler, or whatever his name was. And all of a sudden, here comes U.S. Grant on his horse, dirty, probably drunk, but dirty, dusty. He gets off his horse. He told everybody, he said, any cat calls, I will imprison you. When Lee shows up, nobody, no hoots, no hollers, no cat calls, no nothing, but respect. And they even had this one fellow one time, I forget what the story was. It was a Confederate soldier who broke through and was charging toward, this could be a bit embellished, a bit apocryphal. Anyway, he was charging towards U.S. Grant. And he looked and he says, this guy going to kill me or what? Maybe some crazed, Confederate who didn't get the memo. And he stopped and they tipped the head. There was that provision that out of respect where the horse tips his head, you put your stirrup out with a sword. I mean, the honor that they had. And they gave everybody back their rifles as they go home. It's over with. And out of that horror came this, I hate to say it, this bloody, horrible pageantry, this respect. It's oxymoronic.
Sacco and Felice, New York and New Jersey's premier attorneys at law. Their team brings decades of experience across a wide range of practice areas. Whatever life brings, they're your legal team. From everyday matters to complex cases, they've got you covered with the experience you need and the results you want. Because when life gets complicated, they make it simple. SaccoFelice.com. SACCOFILLAS.com. 2 C's, 2 L's.